story, the preliminary trade deal between the U.S. and Mexico has pushed Canada right into the spotlight, and now its Foreign Minister, Chrystia Freeland, is rejoining negotiations. I'm actually told at the top of the hour she will be back negotiating with the U.S. Trade Representative, Robert Lighthizer. Now, we want to bring in a former U.S. ambassador to Canada, Bruce Heyman. He joins me now from Colorado. Happy to have you with us on what looks
Good
like,
to be here.
Thank you. It looks like a very interesting day for Canada. You say that there is a distinct possibility that this might actually happen this week. Why and why now? And is it a vindication of Donald Trump's negotiating tactics?
So let's walk through this. The president of Mexico, Peña Nieto, his term ends on December 1st. 90 days before that is the notification requirement that if he were to sign on to a NAFTA agreement, that notification needs to go to Congress. That's at the end of this week. And so to get a NAFTA deal for Peña Nieto to sign, you really need to get that notification at the end of the week. And to get a real NAFTA deal, you need all three parties. So here we are, 3 days to the end of the week, and you have the Foreign Minister of Canada coming into these negotiations for the first time in weeks, but a lot has been accomplished in these negotiations with Mexico. So I think there's a real possibility that if compromise is in the air and USTR, the U.S. Trade Representative, really wants to get a deal, I think there's a deal to be had.
And the timing, though, here is fascinating to get it all done in 1 week. Now, the Canadians tell me there's about a handful of really tough issues. One of them is the dispute resolution mechanism that is in NAFTA. That means that you actually get a referee. You get a third party to come in and arbitrate if there's a problem. The United States doesn't want that. Do you think that could be a deal breaker?
It could be. I mean, 30 years ago, when the negotiations were starting in NAFTA, and now NAFTA is going to be 25 years old this January, the Canadians were going to walk away from the table if they didn't have this dispute resolution in place. And so that could be a deal breaker here. That being said, I think it's not a binary outcome. I think that there are a lot of paths to getting this done, and compromise has to be the word of the day. If it's there, I think there are paths to getting that done.
Compromise. Key word here. We've heard from Prime Minister Trudeau just a few hours ago saying, I am not going to compromise on the dairy issue. We have heard President Trump say over and over again that American farmers are getting a bad deal, that Canadians close off their markets to U.S. dairy products. The prices in Canada are kept artificially high for all dairy products. And Trudeau's saying, yeah, and that's the way we're going to keep it right now. That's the way he's entering into negotiations. Ambassador, if you'll allow me, we just want to hear, Gary Tuchman, CNN reporter, went into Wisconsin a few weeks ago to talk to the Wisconsin farmers. Are they really upset about the supply management system in Canada? Take a listen.
My reaction is yay to Canada for supporting their dairy farmers. I wish they would support us here in this country.
Well, I would like to see a quota system or a supply management program put in place, like in Canada.
Ambassador, I know you are no stranger to these issues. When you see these issues on the table this way, do you think it's something that either side, President Trump or Justin Trudeau, will have to compromise on if they want to get this deal done?
So there are paths to compromise on this, and I was deeply involved in discussions and negotiations around dairy when I was ambassador and worked directly with Senator Schumer and others. So let's just talk through this a little bit. Yes, they have supply management in Canada, and yes, they protect their dairy, and yes, they have higher prices than would normally be the case. But what they did do in the negotiations at TPP, they expanded the access for the TPP participants. They expanded access under CETA, the European agreement. And I think that there's still room to get additional access to the market while at the same time maintaining supply management. So what the Prime Minister said, he didn't want to give up supply management. What the President is saying, they tax us 270%, but they really don't. Nobody pays that. They sell up to the quota, and the U.S. has a trade surplus in dairy with Canada. So the president is using this a little bit as a ruse to stir things up. But, you know, he does that from time to time.
And some people would say they're good negotiating tactics. At the end of the day, when we come to this negotiation right now, I mean, these were things, these details that you're telling us about, that you were involved in. You know, you and I both know this took months to kind of settle. They are trying to compress the schedule literally until 5 o'clock Friday. Why do you think it can work now when it hasn't for years?
So there's nothing like a deadline to produce outcomes. And so when you have this deadline, you see the new Mexican president is a bit of an uncertain path here in these negotiations. He's already said he'd like to consider looking at some chapters, i.e. energy, and renegotiate some of those or even eliminate them. So the president of the United States and his team know what they have with Mexico in hand. And so I think they have this unique moment here just over the next few days. Now, it sounds like a few days, but the people in the room are experts on trade negotiation. They've been dealing with these issues for years, and they've been talking NAFTA renegotiation for a year and a half. Everybody knows what needs to get done. So if they're willing to compromise, I think they can get an agreement in principle. Now, they're not going to dot all the I's and cross all the T's by Friday, but they need to get enough done so they can send that letter of notification to Congress so they have that 90-day window and still get this thing done by the 1st of December.
Yeah, and notification to that